Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Third Man Podcast, presented by yours truly, and this is the podcast where I bring on two incredible guests each week to talk about what's going on in esports. We don't have any two incredible guests this week. It's just me. So you're stuck with me for the next hour, or hour 30. That's how the other episode's gone, and I'd be totally fine with that happening today. We will see. It's a pleasure to see everybody, though. I'm glad that everybody could make it. I'm glad that y'all are here live at twitch.tv/DJTJRL. If you're listening from Spotify, you're cool. Don't get me wrong, but you're just not as cool as the people who are in here. So, without further ado, y'all, it has been I wouldn't say horrendous week in esports, but it has definitely been not the best. I don't really know how to say it other than that. Just straight up, it has just been an absolute mess of a week, which we are going to get into very soon. I'm going to actually go ahead and just pull up Twitch chat just because I want to make sure that all of y'all are here. I can see everybody's lovely faces. Again, it is a pleasure to have everybody, as I just realized that I'm logged into the wrong Twitch. So we're already off to a fiery start. But once again, shout out everybody for being here. The stream setup is just gonna have to be the way that it is. It's not as scuffed because once we get through with the topics, it'll look a little bit better. But for now, we gonna see how it goes. I'm not giving out my Twitch password, unfortunately, to those of you who may want it. But without further ado, hey everybody. So obviously we have quite the episode today. There has been a insane amount. You can see the topics that we're going to go over right here. Again, much love to everybody who is right here, right now in chat. Let's just go ahead and let's just break it down, right? So we're going to come back to Twitch chat. I'll keep it over there so I can see. But let's get this thing going. So right off the bat, big topic that has been. That would make three people. If I do duplicate my camera 2 times, that would make 3 people. That actually would have been really funny. I should have done that. But let's just go ahead and let's get this thing moving. I'm not exactly sure if the capture is going to work, so we might have to adjust it as we see fit. But hopefully it's gonna work. All right, so let's just go ahead and let's break into this. So all right, we are officially into the Collegiate Esports season. Yeah, these first-time chatters are speaking the truth. That's real. Shout out my roommates. But it's the season of Collegiate Esports coming back, meaning that there is a lot going on. So we had Nace and Playfly, who were together in the same business venture under Nace Esports. And then, as of recent, there was this major controversy where there was a pricing change to the free divisions, and because of that, we are now at the point where now we have Nace and Playfly as 2 completely separate options. And so, in my personal opinion, I am a fan, but not a fan of Nace. Obviously, I am a fan of what they do. I am a fan of the platform that they provide. But if we're going simply based off of what is the best bang for your buck, right? Which I'm going to try and make this work. Y'all got to give me 1 second. There we go. See, we're getting there. We're learning, right? Obviously, Third Man is supposed to have 2 others, but this is just how we're going to have to do it for now. But anyways, so here's what we're looking at, right? So we're seeing that Nace is sitting at a absolutely, in my opinion, ridiculous $3,250 a year. And obviously I'm not here trying to start drama, but in my shoes, I run a esports program at the University of Georgia as a student. So for our entire program to be student ran, my first thought is not $3,000. That's just simply not how I see it. Now, if you're a varsity program, I do think that they have a insane board of directors. They have an incredible group of people who are working behind the scenes, and I've already kind of gotten my drama on Twitter about this, but I mean no hate to the Nace board or the board of directors at all. So $3,000 is crazy, and I do hope that Nace kind of starts to provide more in terms of what you get for your money. Like, for example, like what I really, really like about what we're going to talk about with ECAC and NECC is that they do major lands, which is a massive addition to a school program that, oh, I didn't even realize that there was music going on at the same time. I just now saw that was on, so hopefully that didn't bother anybody too much. Hopefully that was quiet. If it wasn't, I apologize. We should be good now. But I hope that they start to create more value, because it's just ridiculous when you look at NECC, which is next, and we're talking about $1,300 a year, which is significantly less. Or you can obviously pay the $800 per semester depending on what you're doing, and maybe only one of your teams is playing 1 year. Who knows, right? And then also they have a different pricing bracket for singular titles. So obviously you have the $650 a year and they just throw Rocket League as an example, or you can pay per semester, which I think those are great options. I think those are very solid. Which there was an issue because Playfly was going to charge that amount per semester, a little less than that. But I have not seen, and obviously, look, I would love to be wrong on some of my points today, and I would love to learn more about this space, but I haven't seen a lot of programs who have been one-game programs. I just simply haven't seen it. So I don't think that those price points really matter, but it's nice to have them. And even though Playfly technically beats out NECC in that regard, it's just really not anything crazy in my opinion. So NECC is the cheapest per year, and I think when we're talking about what really matters, we're looking at semester and yearly costs. So NECC beats NACE. I think that in terms of value, in terms of production, in terms of LAN, because CECC, I think that makes it easy for less than half the cost. Now, Playfly. So Playfly was the company behind the decisions that really, 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 really put NACE in a really bad spot, and a lot of those directors got hate that they shouldn't have, even for myself included. And so for them, their new pricing structure is $2,000 for 1 year or $3,000 for 2. So I was never an Ace varsity member, so I'm not exactly sure what the total price points were. For multiple years, I was under the impression that they were only yearly costs, and it was just a yearly membership that you paid. So they did that. And then you have your open division, which 40 or 75 per student per semester. So I don't exactly know what this is supposed to mean, but I agree with that. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest Playfly fan, but if you are a program and you're looking to play nationally, it's not a bad option. It's really not. Now, granted, the value you get is, in my opinion, even worse than NACE, because I don't even think they have a LAN set up or a major stream. So I don't think you really get much out of that, but at least it's cheap and it gives you the platform to play, which is really all you can ask for. And then, obviously, ECAC, more of a regional-based league, because they are obviously based solely on the East Coast. I mean, they are the Eastern Coast Athletic Conference or something like that. I don't know the exact whatever combo of words that makes it up. But $1,600 per year isn't a terrible price point. You do get some great streams. I know that their Discord's set up really well. I haven't heard a lot of bad things about their program, but then you get down to the other stuff, and you're looking at $800 per year for the non-core titles. And so this is where I'm kind of confused. So the main titles that they have, I believe, are the 5 that are listed there, which, if you can't see, it would be Super Smash Bros., Valorant, Rocket League, Overwatch, and League of Legends. So if you're not playing those titles, which there's another graphic that we're going to show, which is literally right down here, which y'all will see in a second. Actually, we can actually go ahead and pull that up right here. The games that they do offer are every game, basically anything you can think of other than Dota 2. And that's it. Everything that you see on the left side, plus MLB The Show, NHL, and Teamfight Tactics, ECAC offers, which is awesome. I'm glad, they are by far killing it in terms of representation. And that's a really awesome thing. So I respect the heck out of them for that. Which I got to remember that for the Spotify viewers or the Spotify listeners, y'all can't tell, but basically we're looking at a chart of the games that the leagues offer, and ECAC is doubling any of the other three leagues. And arguably, you could combine the three leagues, and they'd only have like what maybe. I mean, they technically wouldn't have more games offered, but if you're going just based off of total numbers, it still wouldn't go near ECAC in terms of total kind of showcasing. Um, so I do respect it. I do respect it. And obviously, we can get into the schedules, and there's these tier breakdowns, which is a whole nother conversation for another day because we have a lot to get through. So we might come back to this. But regardless, the craziest part is that we are staring at three different leagues, which it's not going to show on stream, of course, because my computer doesn't want to work with me. Four different leagues. We're sitting here, we're looking at NECC, NACE, Playfly, and ECAC, and that's not even getting into the smaller regional leagues like SEL or Great Lakes, who are incredible organizations, but just don't get the amount of, I guess, praise, I guess is the right word to say, even though they do arguably better jobs than some of these leagues, and I don't think that's crazy to say. But that does carry us straight into our next topic, which is NECC announcing Project One. So now we live in an esports world where we have not a lot of differences between our competing leagues. And so my guess is that in an attempt to differ themselves, NECC has created this Project One initiative, where obviously, like, I can sit here and read through the description very quickly. The National Esports Collegiate Conference announced the creation of Project One, an initiative designed to advance and promote collegiate esports, which is the base of everything. Project One aims to bring together NCAA Division I schools in a new competitive format. Project One is open to 304 institutions. It's great. I mean, it's a great initiative on paper, but obviously, as we have kind of gone through things, it's gotten a lot of controversy, and I can see why. Obviously, if you are not a Division I school, you're probably not a fan of this. You probably despise this, because why would you want to be kind of thrown out of the league, right? Why would you want to be thrown out of esports? And I totally have seen the points. I've seen the points on Twitter. There was a lot of conversation. 30,000 people saw this tweet. Obviously, only 4 comments, but the 28 retweets and 65 likes, I mean, that created all sorts of conversation around this thing. And obviously, my name is the very first one mentioned on this. So, yes, I was a part of the creation of Project One. It's a project that I'm very proud of. But again, I know why a lot of hate was or not hate. I know why a lot of scrutiny was pushed towards NECC and myself. And so I understand why people did that. And my biggest thing that I think I want to say after working on this project was the whole point of our work, and especially for me being a student who does this for free, is that I do this for my students and I do this for the general collegiate esports community. And because of that, I have naturally partnered and gotten my feet in the door wherever I can in big markets. And so because of that, it's a lot of D1 schools because that's where the big markets are. And obviously, schools like Northwood, schools like Maryville are incredible and and just amazing at what they do. And I love their directors. I love their leaders. But if a major sponsor, like somebody like an Intel or somebody like NVIDIA, wants to look at this from a top-down perspective and they're not familiar, like, for example, Daniel Clerk, who works with Maryville, who goes by Clerky on Twitter, he's a great friend and a great leader, and he secured a McDonald's sponsorship for Maryville, which is incredible. And I wish I knew more about that so I could talk about it, but if there's not enough people as motivated and as talented as somebody like Daniel, I don't see how the small schools can pave the way for everybody. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm obviously very new. I'm only 20 years old. There's a lot that I have left to learn and a lot that this scene continues to learn as it gets more mature, especially collegiate esports. But I just don't see how a school like Northwood, a school like St. Clair, actually St. Clair isn't small. So I guess I'd go to like maybe a Converse university. I just don't see how schools like that, who, yes, they are incredible at what they do, I just do not see how they are going to succeed in terms of leading the pack. They can obviously have their own success. They can have their scholarship players, and they can do a great job of providing experiences, but I don't see how they help us in general. So that's my little opinion, I guess, on Project One. And then this comes out. 8 U.S. universities combined to create their own esports conference. And so this is something that even surprised me, and I thought I knew what was coming. But yeah, these following universities just decided we're going to make our own conference, which, if you look at all of these schools and their histories, they are extremely developed programs who do an incredible job. But this is just surprising to me because now we live in a world where we have major national leagues, we have regional leagues, and then we have kind of these, like, literally, I mean, Insider Gaming says it themselves. They say right here, where is it? It's a first of its kind. Or sorry, this is the director of esports at Michigan State saying this. Shout out Chris. He says that this is a first of its kind collaboration to create memorable and meaningful competitive opportunity for our students, alumni, and partners. Which, I mean, it's just nuts that this even is I'm trying to think of the right words here. It's just crazy that this is even a thing. Granted, I would love to see the leaders at all 8 of these universities succeed, which for the Spotify listeners, we're talking about Boise State, Michigan State, Syracuse, Ohio State, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and USC, not South Carolina, Southern California. And so with that, I mean, those are all D1 schools who some of them were actually a part of the Project One initiative in terms of like helping kind of steer the boat. So when they were doing this, I was kind of taken aback, mainly because this is a pretty incredible step for these schools. And obviously, like, definitely go read this article if you haven't already. Boise State has been leading the way for years, and so to see them at the top of this list doesn't surprise me, especially, like, Doc Haskell obviously had a few statements. The biggest thing he's saying is that they're very excited to establish this conference and play peer institutions in a fixed schedule that expands upon our traditional athletic rivalries. So that direct quote is kind of the exact point of Project One, is to play off marketing, to play off the rivalries, and to play off location to create community around those rivalries. And so I was just surprised to see this because they kind of just want to do their own thing. And you know what? Why not? So what's going to be really, really interesting this year, because it's only August. It's August 18th as of this episode. For them to decide to make their own conference, they have 4 games: Valorant, Overwatch 2, Rocket League, and Smash. I really wonder if their teams are going to play in other conferences or if they're going to really consolidate scholarship talent into this league. Because, like, for example, Boise State was just competing for a national championship in Rocket League less than 3 months ago. And so for them to turn and compete in this, I would be shocked to see them take their talent and only play these other 7 schools. But maybe this is more of a marketing move. Maybe this is just off the basis of, hey, even if it's the C teams playing, it's not about that. I don't know. There's so much that could happen here, and it's going to start in September. So September is going to be a great month for Collegiate Esports, I hope, because all of these leagues are going to be starting. So that kind of moves us past that conversation. So moving through the itinerary, a major breakthrough. I mean, this is one of the biggest collegiate scandals back to back. After we just got through the Fisher situation less than 6 months ago, we get this competitive ruling from NECC, who, from what I read, this is their first ever financial penalty that they have put on a team in their league. Obviously, NACE has had their history because they've been around for such a long time, and their whole boards has done a good job over there. But But this is the first time that NECC has had to financially penalize a university, and this was for ringing, which, for those of you who are not familiar, basically having another player play on someone's account. And so in this situation, we're just going to kind of very quickly read through this. NECC rules against Pace University White in the Emergence Division in League of Legends. And it says the NECC investigated the situations, finding the director had directly told the player who account shared and the account sharee to do so in order to play the match. Which, with the Fisher drama, that whole thing wasn't handled really well from an administrative side, to where we had no idea kind of what happened there. Did the director know? Did the players know? We didn't know what happened there. Well, obviously the players who cheated had to know. But did the rest of the team know? All that stuff is in the dark. This is a literal report that a director directly told the players to do it. And obviously, Jesse, who is a great guy, I got to talk to him in DMs. He's a really great guy, and I feel for him. They came out, and he made his statement, which we're going to read in just a second. But obviously, continuing on with what happened, NECC issued a fine of $750 to be paid before the fall 2024 season, and the two players who were involved in that received a semester-long suspension. So a very, 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 very similar situation to the Fisher situation, which got Fisher banned for an entire competitive season. This coming up competitive season, Fisher cannot play in NACE. And so Twitter blows up about this because Fisher did not get off the hook with NACE versus where Pace, it really feels like they got off the hook here. And for $750 to actually get the chance to play, I mean, that might be a steal to some programs. And so that surprises me. That was interesting. And so we'll read Jesse's statement. So here's what Jesse said, which I'll get it on screen in a second. Let's just move it up so y'all can actually see it on the stream. Okay, here we go. Can't see it all, but that's okay. We'll make it work. So here's the full statement. We'll just read this out. I'm going to kind of skim over it. I would like to acknowledge and apologize for a serious lapse in judgment concerning Pace's League of Legends Academy team. So this isn't in the main divisions, but they're playing Marywood. And it's Pace, and they're solid universities with solid programs. So this happened this past spring, and continuing on with his quote, faced with the absence of one of our players that couldn't make the rescheduled date of a playoff match, which was tied 1-1, and then it says we played with all of our players initially, but could not play the final game because it got too late, which League of Legends games take a hot minute. This game could have started at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., who knows, right? So I understand. But to go 2 games and not play the third at that point, as a professional coach myself, we got to stick it out. Regardless of team condition, the playing field's even. It's a rough spot to kind of quit this and then say, we'll play game 3 another day. But obviously both teams agreed, so I can't talk. And then obviously Jesse continues and says, I made the decision to allow a player from a lower level club team to play on the member of an academy team's account. So obviously the academy team must not have had any subs, or the subs couldn't make it. That information I didn't really see. And so it says, though my intention was not one of ringing, but rather to avoid a forced forfeit to give the players the opportunity to find their playoff game in the emergence of this decision was in violation of the standards and ethics expected in the competitive engagements, which, look, again, Jesse seems like a really great guy. I got to meet him kind of through all this drama. He seems great. Pace is a great program, a lot of respect for them. But this is a lot of pandering. This is a lot of PR warfare. I don't know why we are sounding so official. Actually, I do know why we're sounding so official, because he is a paid director, which I do respect. But it's just, to me, being a student leader, this is just BS. And I've spoken directly with the director of Marywood and their League of Legends coach, a Pace alumni, to express my full accountability, which that's just him kind of making ends meet, I guess, making amends. I've also been in communication with the NECC to make sure the appropriate measures are taken. So that's a positive, is that at least the NECC and the offending university have had conversations, whereas the NACE and the Fisher stuff happened, no conversation was had, and that whole situation was just an absolute mess in the first place. And then this guy, and then obviously Jesse, who is a director at Pace and is the executive director of Voice, who's been a recent kind of uprising group in Collegiate Esports, who has done a good job. They've got some really cool things that they seem to be cooking up. And Jesse, again, a great leader over there. Continuing on this statement, I hold a responsibility to uphold the integrity and values of the program and the organization. I sincerely apologize to the entire collegiate community and to Marywood. So, a long story short, he's sorry, but he is aware that he made a really bad decision, and this is something that is absolutely miserable. This is just simply not what can happen in our scene, and so I hate to see it. But continuing on, Jesse then goes starting today. This was August 13th. So his tweet came out August 12th, and then on August 13th he said, "Starting today, I'm taking a voluntary unpaid leave of absence from Voice." So from the board, or being the director of Voice, until the next board meeting to reflect and give the board space to have to make their own decision-making process, pretty much. And then he says, "Here to listen, learn, and take responsibility." And under this tweet, okay, thank God that's not on Spotify. But if you saw that comment, you can understand why people were upset, and how people felt about the situation. I did not know that was there. Apologies to Twitch chat. But anyways, so people just weren't happy. Obviously, Nace put out this whole thing on the players and their ruling and everything. What I'm glad that NEC did, or NECC did, is that they did not ban the entire program. They did not ban the entire team because the director took the full blame. Now, I do feel like that there could have been action taken against the director, but at least the 2 players were taken out. But I also feel for the players because I don't know if Pace is scholarship or not, but I know that they have the ability to compete in these leagues, meaning that they do have some major money to spend. And if the director, which NECC said from the investigation, the director told the players to do the account sharing and to play on a different person's account. So it's a really rough spot. It's a really, really, really rough spot. But that's the brief overview of that. My personal opinion is just raw disappointment, and really nothing else. It's just something that can't happen, and I'm glad that I'm in the position that I'm in at the age that I'm at. That way I get to see this stuff and learn. But that sucks. It just simply sucks. There's not much else that can be said about that, and there is a lot of there's a lot you could say about the way Fisher was treated by NACE versus how Pace was treated by NECC, but that's a conversation I can't really speak on because those are 2 completely different boards with 2 completely different histories with completely different, just everything is different. And if they want to be more conservative instead of more aggressive, then to each their own. I mean, there's really not much that you can say there. But I do agree with most of Twitter that it is unfair that Fisher got banned and still is banned, and that ban has not been lifted. And, speaking of, we'll just transition to the next topic. That's kind of all I can say about that. So, moving on to the next topic. SLU, which, if I can get the abbreviation right, is St. Louis University. For those of you at Spotify, I definitely did not just click on their esports page and go look for myself. So it is, one more time, so I can make sure, St. Louis University, a program I'm not familiar with, but obviously this year has made waves, winning the CLOL National Championship, and they are a varsity program, so they've been around, they've been competitive, and they just won a national title in a very, very competitive title. League of Legends is nothing to scoff at, and CLOL is sponsored by Riot. It is a Riot-ran league. So it's a major title, and you can see the picture of the team. Like, they had an incredible run, and obviously you don't just win a League of Legends title like that easily. So big props to them. But then after that, their university disbands the program, which I just absolutely do not understand. We're going to get into the sub-tweets here in the comments, and we're going to read more about it. But just off of first glance, my reaction, I am grossed out, I am appalled, and I am shocked and disgusted, really, that the university just decided, after having what could be argued as one of the most successful programs as of 2024, for this to happen. So I'll read real quick the statement from Nick Chu, who is known as Pog Chu on Twitter. He is the director, well, now former director. But his statement was, this is what his tweet said. "Yesterday I was told that my director position in the varsity esports program will be eliminated. And after starting the club back in 2016, creating the program in 2020, and winning the national championship in 24, my journey with SLU is over." Which is just god-awful heartbreaking. And for him to have created the club is what I would imagine would be him as a student, or as an instructor of some kind, and then going through the process of making an entire varsity program in 4 years, which a lot of schools can't even dream of doing, and then taking 4 more years to win a national title. So in 8 years, going from club to varsity to national champions, I mean, it's a really, really admirable achievement. Little sip of water there. But for this to happen, and this is blown up on Twitter, it's got 100,000 views, 111 comments, 750 likes, and 89 retweets. I mean, I was not aware of St. Louis's history, but a lot of people are, and you can tell why. I mean, you could scroll through the comments for hours and days, and everybody, obviously was saying that you've done so much, we're so sorry. And Nick in the comments says below, somebody asked, why did they cite as the reason why your program got terminated? And he says, business and staffing needs. And so I hate using this as an example, but this is very similar to why I worry about these small schools leading the way, is that yes, they are incredible, and yes, they are so talented, and if there's money there, the students should go there. If they're going to make money and get their college paid for it, go there. But with stuff like this happens, where you can be the most successful program in the world in League of Legends, at least from a university standpoint, an extremely talented group of guys, and you get terminated the year after, I don't understand what more you can do. And if the school is claiming that it's because of business and staffing needs, that is scary. That is very scary. And even more, there's James O'Hagan down here, who's a friend of mine, and he says he has a serious question. Were you able to present data-driven outcomes aligned with St. Louis's strategic goals? And then he says he's asking so that others can learn. And so then Nick says, this is a question I always ask my admins every year. What do they want to see me bring back? So an incredible director who's trying to fulfill what he's paid to do. And then he says, it's funny because I don't even think 2% of my $71,000 budget left the university. All of it went to paying a department for scholarships. The largest outgoing expense was me, which I guess would refer to his contract. And then James says, I realize the news is fresh, so if this needs time to process, I understand. Is there advice that you could help others? And then he says, it's okay with acting more selflessly and to ask for forgiveness and not permission. Every department is out for themselves, and I honestly should not have been any different. So, I mean, God, off into the sunset is Nick Chu. I mean, put that on a t-shirt. But this is also such a good point about universities in general. He says every department is out for themselves. People don't realize this, but you go to your college and you can sit in one department and go to one department next door and they hate each other's guts, or they don't want to do anything with each other. They never collaborate. They don't work with the same people. They don't have the same sponsors. It is wild how even universities, like I know I'm at UGA, and our business world is very different with how each department has their own sponsors and technology and setups and equipment, and it's a whole thing. So with a smaller university with this type of energy, or at least that what Nick is saying, is this insane amount of conflict, it's crazy. And then someone also said budget cuts. No offense, how expensive can an esport program be? And then Nick goes, it isn't. I mean, there's just so much here. This program was a part of student development, not athletics. So I don't know if that is a major factor. Because with a school like this, I have no idea what that budgeting looks like. I would imagine that their athletics department would have more money, but I'm not sure. I don't know. So I mean, I feel for Nick. It's a really sucky situation to be in. But things happen, I guess. I mean, God, it's terrible. But I feel for Nick, and shout out to St. Louis and that team. He did say that the players' scholarships are going to be fulfilled throughout their entire academic career. So at least those players aren't screwed. At least they're still going to get college paid for. I would imagine they're going to transfer anyways, but at least the option's there. So we'll move on. We'll move on with topics. We're on a pretty fiery pace here because there's nobody other than me. So we'll see what happens here. I'm going to read a few of the Twitch comments because why not? One thing that Botanic mentioned earlier here on Twitch says that if the McDonald's partnership in Maryville is anything like Wichita's, it is likely partnered with their local branch than their McDonald's corporate proper. That still proves my point about small schools leading the way. If that is the case, which we don't know exactly if that's a corporate sponsorship or not, that's even more reason why I worry, is because maybe some of these schools are putting on a show. Maybe they're partnering with local brands and then going under national branches, because all you do is you throw a McDonald's logo on the jersey and you can technically represent your local branch. But if I see a McDonald's logo on a jersey and there's no wording around it, my first thought is that they are getting sponsored by McDonald's. And so maybe that hurts other schools who are trying to pitch their own deals, and maybe they're like, oh, why are these small schools doing well and you guys can't even do this? Who knows? Anyways, that's a really good point from Botanic here on Twitch. Twitch.tv/DJTJRL, 9 p.m. Eastern on Sundays is where we're at. So if you're listening from Spotify, you got to get in here live. That way you can ask questions and participate. We'll continue on. Graydon RL from the University of Kentucky. Shout out Graydon. He says, Kentucky found funding success through student development / success department rather than athletics. So that's a really good example. That's a great example that it is possible to find success through there. And I know that. A lot of varsity and even club programs are set up in different ways. Obviously, a lot of collegiate programs, some are through athletics, some are through club sports, some are through rec sports, which in some schools is the same things, and some they aren't. Some are set up through intramurals, some are set up through student development, some student life. I know some esports programs who work with the dorms and they have labs in dorms. Every collegiate esports program is so different. And I think that's one of the biggest things that scares me as a leader in this space, is that everybody is doing everything different, which creativity is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I'm 20 years old and I'm running a 2,000 member program. At this point, we're just throwing darts at the wall, and we're going to see what sticks. Which, hey, so far, we have been very successful, and I am very, very blessed. But if you're trying to invest in esports as a college, what the hell are you supposed to do? Like, what in the world are you supposed to do? There's nothing really consistent. Really, there isn't. And so it's a side point, but it's a great point from Graydon. Anyways, so we'll keep moving on. We got more topics. So we got Maryville, who we just mentioned, a very, very successful program, one of the most successful esports programs in the nation. They are 11-time national champs, 32 times major champs, and they're partnered with Luminosity in the Overwatch Championship Series, which is extremely impressive. And so they just signed a new Rocket League roster, which originally was it was Buddy from Northwood. I want to say, God, why am I forgetting? It was Buddy, Knight, and Adam, I think, who was on that roster, who also played in North American RLCS together, under, God, I'm drawing a blank. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I cannot remember. But regardless, a very talented roster, and one that did win some national titles. So one that was doing really well. And then obviously something happened to where somebody, like, obviously players had to leave, things happen, like, who knows, right? And then we get this on August 15th, we get this tweet from Maryville, and it says, we heard EU was the new NA. And their roster is Knight, who is an American, who was on the roster already, and then Speed and Relating Wave. Two professional Rocket League players from EU. And I'm not just talking about your average RLCS talent. Like, these guys have gone the distance. These guys have been top 4, top 8 in EU, who is a region that, in my opinion, is better than North America at Rocket League. And so this level of talent coming in, especially for a Western school, this is crazy. This is nuts. I mean, just for reference, you have Knight, who is a collegiate talent. He's got 2,000 followers on Twitter. But for reference about how crazy Speed and Relating Wave are, Speed 18K on Twitter, and Relating Wave 10K. And both of them have business contacts, or they're sponsored, or not sponsored, or they're with agencies. I mean, Relating Wave has won an EU regional title, and Speed has won a major. So, yes, it has been years, and Speed hasn't played at a high level in a hot minute. He's a very high level player, but he hasn't been at the top of EU in a hot minute. But he's still been around, and he's still very good. And we're talking again about players who have been at the top and who have seen the top and know what it takes to get there. And now they're coming for free college in North America. So this montage video is dope as hell, by the way. Shout out Maryville. Um, God, I have a lot of thoughts about this. As a Rocket League player, I'm glad that I have a career to fall back on because I would be putting fries in bags at this rate. With rosters like this taking over CRL, this is just nuts. I mean, and you could see the reactions at 33K views, all sorts of comments, retweets, and just all this stuff. It's just crazy. It's a really crazy upgrade, and it I think easily makes Maryville the best team in the East and probably a top. I don't know what to say this early on, but I think they're guaranteed a top 4 team in the nation and in the world. I think they could also be the same. I think if they get the right type of run and they get some chemistry going, they could make a run like that. So they're very talented. And this is just crazy to see. And this has been a thing. Like EU players have been coming to North America for collegiate scholarships, and I think that's great for the development of our scene. But it is crazy thinking that professional talent can just simply go to college here in North America because a lot of schools, like, it's not like there's an age limit. Like you can be an online student and attend. I mean, there's been all sorts of controversy about being an online student who's like 28, 27 and competing in traditional sports. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I know there's a football wide receiver as of this last week who I saw going viral on Twitter for being 28 and being a starting wide receiver this year in his freshman year of NCAA eligibility. So that's just, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's crazy. Anyways, so, I mean, look, congrats to Maryville, congrats to Speed and Wave because they're probably going to win a few titles with this roster. I mean, or at least give us some great games either way. And so then St. Clair on August 13th, so this was 2 days before, they said EU meets NA, and they sign a full EU roster, which is Jazzy, Fabso, and I don't know how it's pronounced. I believe it's Pizzy, or I don't know. It's PZY. He's rank A. Fabso is a CRL world champion as of last year. He was on the Dr. Berman roster, or Berman, I forget how it's said. So he's a former world champion in CRL. And then they get Jazzy, who has been top 16 in RLCS and EU, which, again, a more impressive achievement than top 16 RLCS and NA, in my opinion. So they, again, another great video. St. Clair killed it with this. They did an incredible job. So you get 2 Germans and then an Austrian at a Canadian university. This is just all sorts of what the heck. But St. Clair is a program who is just as tenured as a program like Maryville. And so this is a great move for them. I'm sure they're going to do really great things. They are going to have to compete in the East, which is going to make things really hard. But again, these are not just your average college kids. These are kids who are traveling across the world to play Rocket League, which is an awesome concept. And I'm glad they get their schooling paid for. And I'm glad they get to compete for prize pools without having to pay a lot of money for it. And they're going to get to travel. I mean, and St. Clair hosts a major LAN every year as well. So they're just going to have to go literally like 100 feet out the dorm building, and they're going to be playing for $100,000, something crazy like that. So it's really cool. This social media graphic is awesome. It's got their signatures, their flags, their tags on it. I mean, this is sick. So I'm glad that this is great, or that this is a major step for St. Clair. Obviously, the tweet banged, 160 likes, 43K views. Everybody was really hyping it up, which there's no hate. But again, it is crazy that this is what the state of Collegiate Rocket League is at, to where we are simply just another pro league. We're not we're not RLCS, but we're housing all sorts of top 16, top 8 world champions. It's nuts. So who knows? Who knows what's next? But that's the state of Collegiate Rocket League in the East. So there you go. There's that. All right. Let's talk about this. So AJ, 80K followers, a very, very, very solid professional player. He has been around the scene for quite a long time. He's been at the top. He's played with the likes of some of the greatest players to touch the game, like First Killer. And he put this tweet out, which again, you can't see if you're on Spotify, but I will read it out. He says, I got injections in my hands to stop sweating. When they put the needles in my fingers, I thought I was finished, which is funny. But 77K views, 1,000 likes, and 60 comments. This is crazy. I'm really happy that esports is getting to the point where it's professional, but getting injections to stop sweating, holy, like, it's such a level of sweat that it's anti-sweat, literally. And I don't know how else you could say it. It's ridiculous. And a lot of people agreed with me. Obviously, I said this got to be performance-enhancing drugs. That comment, bang, shout out to everybody who liked that. AJ himself said stop bookmarking this because there's 50 bookmarks, which is just really funny. And then I'm just going to read out some of the comments. Have other esport pros done this before? He said, and then AJ says, I have no idea. My issue is probably worse than other pros. So this was probably more of just a medical thing in general, or he probably would have done this anyways, no matter what he was doing. And then he says, my issue is probably worse than a lot of pros, but there's definitely some that would benefit from getting this. Somebody said, how long were the needles? AJ goes, I closed my eyes. Somebody asked, have you ever used chalk before? And AJ says, yup. So using chalk in playing video games sounds crazy. My poor controller is probably tweaking out just hearing me say that right now. I wouldn't dare put chalk near my controller. What did they even do? Somebody asked. He goes, put needles in my palms and injected Botox. So now he's got Botox in his hands. Let's see here. I mean, just everybody just saying like, ow, just whatever it takes. Somebody put whatever it takes with the goat emoji. There's obviously all sorts of funny comments, which Twitch is seeing live right now. Somebody said, bro is engineering himself with the grind. Like this, his whole comment section is an absolute trip. But it is, yeah, it's a crazy step. It's a really, really, really crazy step. And you know what? Game is game, right? I mean, if he had the ability to pay for it and he needed to do that, then so be it. If that's what he needed to do, then that's what he needed to do. And it's not like anyone can stop him, and it's not illegal. Because not sweating, that's not something you can put a ruling on. You can't rule somebody out because they don't sweat as much as their opponents. I mean, it's whenever you look at that situation, all you can say is, well, you can't really do much. You're just biologically at a disadvantage, and you're not the ultimate gamer. AJ said, screw all that. God got me. Or God didn't get me, so I'm going to get myself. I mean, so he just got the injections. And so it's not an advantage. It is just simply, it's a procedure that is allowed. It's like if a football player got like knee surgery and they had a super knee. I mean, it's not like that's illegal. Or like a metal, let's say somebody tried to play sports with a metal hip. Like, same thing. It's not illegal. But it may or may not be an advantage depending on the sport. Who knows, right? So, yeah, it's crazy. I don't really have a lot of words for it other than that it is just simply nuts. So, yeah. So, definitely check out AJ to see more. I mean, holy, it's getting late. Obviously, he's going to be all right. He's already extremely talented. I can only imagine how not sweating is going to help him. But I am going to open the floor for questions for everybody. We are way ahead of schedule of the average episode of Third Man, and that's because there is no second or third man this week. But I'm glad that everybody could come together and pull up for episode 5. This has been great so far. So let's just open up the floor for questions. We'll kind of see what we get. Meanwhile, I will go ahead and talk about the presenters of Third Man. It is Boost Over Ball. You can find them at Boost_over_ball. A really, really incredible group of guys. Obviously, shout out Cube, AJ, and Red, who do an incredible job. and they run their own podcast. It's called Boost Over Ball. So I am partnered with another podcast under the podcast network. This is the official live show of Boost Over Ball, and they are an incredible group of guys who also they talk a lot about professional Rocket League and what's going on in esports. So if you kind of want to get a view of things from a more professional perspective in terms of topics, then go check out Boost Over Ball. You can find them on Spotify. There's nobody else like them doing what they do. So just Boost Over Ball. You can find them online easily. So definitely go check them out. But yeah, so now let's go ahead and just look at some questions here. Shout out Neon in chat, my goated mod. He said, if you had to cyber modify a part of yourself, what would it do? Or what would you do, not just for Rocket League? Oh, man. Probably... I'm debating on, I don't know. I haven't watched enough sci-fi movies to have a really good opinion. I think something like I don't want to think I want to do my arms or legs. Maybe legs, or maybe like, gosh, what else? I don't even know. I mean, my first thought is legs. I think that makes the most sense. Hands, maybe. I don't know. I kind of rock with having the sense of touch. That's kind of fire. So we'll move through that. Should you ever go for the ball over boost? Funny enough, the little slogan of boost over ball is what's the right time to go for boost over ball? It's all the time. That's their little slogan. So I guess I'm gonna have to legally say that. As Twitch ads are starting to come up, so we're gonna wrap this up. And then last question, Neon says, in your opinion, what will it take for you to stream Valorant? Probably $1,000 cash. I'd rather play like any other shooter in existence on stream before I play Valorant. We'll answer one more. Why not? We're not in a rush. Do you think there is or will be a game that overtakes Rocket League in the next few years? As far as taking the attention of Rocket League viewers, Neon, I don't see how it could. Epic Games and Psyonix can sabotage this game however much they want to. I don't think they're intentionally sabotaging, but they're just simply not really helping their case right now. But there's simply it's not Call of Duty. I can't just go mess around and go play Overwatch. Or if I don't like Overwatch, I can't go mess around and play Valorant. If I don't like Valorant, I can't just mess around and go play the finals. If I don't like the finals, I can't just go play Spectre Divide. Like those games, they all have minor differences, but they apply to the same fan bases of people who like shooters, right? Rocket League just simply doesn't have that. You can't be good at Rocket League and then immediately hop on Forza and be really good. Now, granted, you can be good at Forza and go to Gran Turismo. You can be good at Gran Turismo and maybe lock into something like iRacing or something like that. I mean, who knows, right? So every other game has another part. I mean, you can be good at Madden and you can be pretty good at College Football 25. You can be good at FIFA and then you can hop on something else. Like, Rocket League simply doesn't have anything like it. I don't see how anything could ever replicate what Rocket League does, and if anything tries to replicate it, it's just going to be overtaken by Epic Games. We're talking about a company with a stupid amount of money. The Fortnite could fund 8 games at a time if they really wanted to. So, yeah. I mean, even if something happens, Epic Games would either buy them outright and then combine the two, and because they're basically the Disney of gaming at this point. Riot's the only really other juggernaut in their way. Or they're going to have to do Rocket League 2, like Overwatch and CS, and just simply make a better game or a modified game, because I know some people didn't like the new versions of those games. But anyways, last little statements here, but I watch many games even if I don't play. Yeah, but like nobody who like we're talking about people who are obsessed with Rocket League. Like they love car soccer. You're not going to find car soccer anywhere else. Where are you going to go? To a demolition derby a mile or two down the road? Like, there's just nothing like it, which is good and bad. It's great because once you get an audience, you're going to keep it forever, and there's so much talent and just really great stuff amongst the scene. But it also just means that if you don't like the product, you're screwed. So, all right, guys, without further ado, this has been Third Man, but I guess without the third, so this has just been Man Podcast, episode 5. Massive shout out to Boost Over Ball, as always. They have been such a massive help in things. Obviously, if you are right here live at twitch.tv/DJTJRL, then you can already see the links being put up. Definitely make sure that you go ahead and check me out on my socials. Check out Boost Over Ball. Big shout out to Neon moderating in these episodes, as always, my absolute goat. But guys, I mean, other than that, that's about it. It's been quite a week. I'm sure next week will be even crazier. And we are probably going to have some friends to talk about the next stuff with. So, without further ado, my name is DJ TJ. This has been Third Man. Thank you for listening or watching if you're here on Twitch. Big shout out to the Spotify and Apple Music listeners, etc. It's been a pleasure. This is TJ. I'll see y'all next week.